do something a little bit different in this video, and I'm going to talk about the structure of the cards and give you some insights into how the cards came about and the 7 suits that the cards form. The suits that exist within this pack are useful information itself. It almost gives like a metadata awareness about the card. So what I mean by meta is there's obviously the card that you get and there's a message in the card, but that card belongs to a suit, and that suit has a principle to it. It has a certain perspective. And these suits come from an ebook that I wrote called 7 Tips on How to Surrender to Your Soul. And really the ebook came about with me channeling sort of information about how do we go about surrendering. And surrendering is this great spiritual principle that allows us to connect deeper with the truth of who we are. A lot of the time we stay quite separate to ourselves, and when we surrender, the law of surrender, the spiritual law of surrender, is a law that is there to help us connect back to our truth and really help us in terms of resilience, stress, resourcefulness, the ability to expand into our light. And so the 7 tips on how to surrender to your soul ultimately became a structure, and the cards that I had created fitted into these 7 suits. And so what I'm going to go do today is take you through the 7 suits and show you what the 7 suits are about, and there's a sacred geometry symbol linked to every suit. And then there's also an energy pattern that's linked to every suit. So as I do the first one, that'll make more sense. I'll describe that in a bit more detail for you, and you'll get a greater perspective of it. So the big question would be, why bother? Why are the suits even important, and who really cares about it? Well, it gives you another source of information. When you're pulling your 3 cards and you look at them, if all 3 cards are from the same suit, well then that's going to give you more information about the type of energy frequency that you're working with at that point in time. And it may well be that you're pulling cards from different suits, and so then you have 3 energy frequencies that you can start working with. And so this gives another way of getting deeper into your journey and starting to notice. If you choose to work with these cards quite frequently, and if you're doing this podcast and or working with the cards or coming online with me, it can be quite useful to start noticing which cards do you keep getting and which are the suits they belong to. Are there suits that are there cards coming up from the same suit continuously? Because that's a really, really important clue for the type of energy healing that you're needing to do. What frequency are you most needing to shift? So I'll take you through the 7, and there's almost an ace card for each of the suits. And so I'll take you through what the ace card is for the suits, and that really sets the tone for that suit. So the first suit that we're dealing with is the suit of acceptance. And so this is the ace of that suit. Acceptance will set you free. If we have a look at it, the sacred geometry symbol for acceptance is the seed of life. And the seed of life represents sort of the foundation for all that exists in the universe. And if we start with the foundation, if we wanted to build a house, we need the foundations to be strong so that it can hold the walls and it can hold all that we're wanting to put in the house. And so acceptance is sort of the grounding work for surrender. To find peace in your life, to find joy, to connect to your heart, there needs to be the ability to embrace reality for what it is. Now, the energy pattern that we work with in the suit is, if we talk about this energy pattern, if I show it to you as a continuum, on the one side of the continuum, we've got what would be the way we're responding to life that almost contracts us away from our light. It's the sort of, it spirals us downward. Then we get a middle point, which is, it's almost an energy pattern where we kind of on repeat, a little bit like Groundhog Day. You know, it's that stagnant, that stuckness. And so many of my clients, when they come into my room, they say, I'm stuck. And that's the sort of repetitive energy that we have going on. And then on the other side of the continuum, we've got an energy frequency that holds us into the ability to expand. And so that would be a spiraling upwards kind of thing. So if you imagine sort of 2 spirals, one going up and one going down, on one side of the energy frequency, we can spiral downward. In the middle, we'll stay stuck and we'll just keep spiraling round and round and round and go nowhere fast. And then on the other side of the continuum, it's about spiraling up. And so this is not about a right wrong, it's about an awareness. Because if you know what you're doing, you can change it. So there's no need to analyze this or show it in any right or wrong way. So the energy pattern for the acceptance suit, for the suit that is all about the concept of acceptance, is on the side to spiral down is we've got the need to fight, to resist, to reject. Yeah. In the middle, the sort of place where we stagnate, it's where we're ignoring things. Yeah? It's a tendency to not want to deal with certain things. We're just going to not pay attention to it. And then on the side to expand into our light is acceptance. Yeah? And we can think about this in the simplest way, is that everything that exists in your world today, it doesn't change whether you like it or not. Whether you want it or not is an irrelevant concept. It is there. It is what it is the principle here. And so the more you fight reality, the harder your life is. The more you ignore what is going on in your life, the less resourceful you are to deal with it. And the more you accept it, that is the entry point to your power. That's the foundation to connecting in with the resources you need to move forward. I say it like it's easy. Acceptance is definitely not the easiest thing for any of us to do. So that is the first suit, the suit of acceptance, and that will set you free. If we then look at the next suit, we've got the suit that is all about safety. So this is the ace card for the suit. You are safe. And the sacred geometry symbol here is the dodecahedron, and that's a very big word for cube. So it's the cube. And if we think about the cube is stable. It's got these four sides to it. It is very planted on the ground. It's very predictable. Everything is known, and we can house things in cubes. I mean, down to a very simple thing. Even when you wrap presents, it's nicer if it's in a box because it's easier to wrap. It's just simpler. It's easier. And so the dodecahedron, or the cube, asks us to simplify and to almost just find our grounding, to find our stability. And the number 4 is quite important with that. 4 is a number of stability, of groundedness, of being confident. And so the cube has the 4 sides to it. Well, a cube has 6, but you know what I mean. So if we have a look at the You Are Safe suit, the energy frequency that's important to understand here, again, if we put it onto the continuum and we look at what spirals down, what keeps us stagnant, and where do we spiral up, the energy for spiraling down is fear. Now, fear in itself is not a negative thing. And a lot of the cards in the suit are about helping us actually navigate a relationship with our fear, to get intimate with our fear, to connect with our fear, to notice what it is that your fear is asking you to do. Because if we give fear the driver's keys, the keys to the driving seat in our car, we're going to spiral down. But fear in itself can be the trigger for us to find the other things in our life. The energy around stagnation is, interestingly, protection. So if I walk around defending myself, protecting myself, needing to make sure that I have lots of strategies to keep me safe, I put up walls around my heart, I make sure I try and get you to do certain things so that I feel safe. This is a protection strategy in the world. And a protection strategy fundamentally comes from a place of not being safe. And we keep recreating the same instances in our life. And then we get the expansion, which is about trust. And this is really about the choice of trust. It's about not always understanding everything, but finding that sort of faithful trust. The trust that all is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And that it is serving you or humanity in some way, shape or form. Because once you get there, again, you can decide now what do you want to do with it. So that is suit number 2, You Are Safe. Suit number 3 is probably one of the most difficult suits for many of my clients, and that's the suit of Own the Part You Are Playing. This is the suit of accountability. This is the suit of embracing and owning what is going on in your life. And so we see here the infinity symbol is the sacred geometry symbol for this suit. And the infinity symbol is about continuity. It's about the ability to give and receive, to contribute and to create. It's got the paradoxical energies, the opposite kind of energies that flow into each other, and notice that all is needed. And when we start looking at embracing the part we play in our own life, this is not about blame. This is about accountability, as I said earlier. And the energy pattern of this one is a very sort of intimate one to get to understand. On the side where we spiral down, there's a tendency to blame others for what's going on in our world. Yeah? We want to blame our parents, we want to blame the government, we want to blame our culture, we want to blame God, we want to blame the universe, we want to blame me. And so whatever it is when you're trying to blame someone else, you've given them responsibility for your life. Now, the interesting part is this middle part where we get stuck, that stagnant place. And this is interestingly because this is the place of self-blame. So self-blame is, at least I'm not blaming other people. It must be my fault. Yeah? And so I still live in this idea of I'm being punished in some way, or I'm doing something wrong in some way. And self-blame is not the same as accountability. In a lot of the EQ kind of work that I do, especially in corporates, we talk about a concept called self-awareness a lot. And self-awareness is a very interesting energy. Self-awareness is noticing what is going on in my life. But most of us are in self-analysis or in self-persecution. Self-analysis is, why am I like this? And self-persecution is, there must be something wrong with me. And so that would all be in this energy of self-blame. And then we get into the energy of embracing. And embracing is really about, oh, so that's it. Embracing is like looking in the mirror and seeing in the mirror that my hair's out of place, and you go like, oh, let me fix my hair. You don't blame the mirror. You don't go to stupid mirror, why is it showing me my hair like that? It's an embracing energy. It's an accepting energy, and it's one of bringing things closer and almost making love to them in a way. And so when we need to embrace things that are going on in our lives, embrace the part we play, then we can start to truly take accountability for how we want to shift things in our life. So that's suit 3. Like I said, probably for many of my clients, this is a tricky place to get cards, yeah? Okay. So the next suit is probably my favorite suit, and that is There Is Only Love. And so this is the suit about embracing love. And the sacred geometry symbol we've got here is the Merkaba, or otherwise known as the star tetrahedron. If you look at this from a 2D perspective, it's a 6-pointed star. If you look at it from a 3D perspective, it's the Merkaba. And the Merkaba is a sort of energetic spiritual body. It's about our transporting ourselves between ourselves and our spirits. The Merkaba, we can do another talk on another day because it's a very big spiritual principle. You can Google it. When we have a look at this, There Is Only Love, the important part about love is that it is embracing everything. And this card really shows that. If we have a look at this card, for those of you who can't see it, there's a beautiful heart on it. And it looks really, really pretty from far. And then when you look quite close to it, you will see that there's all sorts of weird things in it. There's a knife and a fork, and there's a tea strainer, and there's like cauliflower leaves and all sorts of things. And so everything is beautiful. Everything is lovely. Everything needs to be loved. Not just some things and not the other things. And this is the love in an unconditional bias, not in the sort of way that we do love in the physical realm, which is in a very conditional perspective. And so the continuum on this for this suit is on the side where we spiral down is judge. We're in judgment of each other. We're in judgment of ourselves. And judgment is something we all do as human beings. We don't need to judge our judgment, but we do need to notice that when we judge something, it keeps us very separate from integrating it. When we judge another person, we put ourselves on the opposite side of something to them. When we judge ourselves, we have quite a critical way of navigating life with ourselves. And so judgment is this, it blocks love. Yeah? The middle sort of the place where we get stuck is when we manipulate. And so manipulation is the energy of trying to make sure somebody loves me. Manipulation, I always joke about this, and it's a silly joke, but I'll say to my son, do you love me? And he says to me, yes, I'll make you some coffee. Because, that's been the joke in my life with him for a very long time. Now, coffee's got nothing to do with love, but we all have these games we play. We have ways of monitoring what love is and isn't, and we have ways of manipulating people in control and in ownership and in various ways to try and demonstrate love. And then we get true sort of love, which is on the expansion side. And this is love with the absence of judgment and love with the absence of the need to try and make something happen because I love it. I love for free is the principle that expands our light. And so how do I love everything? And love for free becomes a very, very important part of this growth journey. So when we go into suit 5, again, this is probably a little bit more of a difficult suit for many of my clients, and this is called feel it, deal with it, heal it. Tough words. The symbol for this is yin yang. So the yin yang symbol is a well-known symbol of integration. It's about wholeness. And so this is really about taking a long look at the truth of what's going on for you. And this is a world, all the cards that are in this suit are a lot about embracing the emotional aspects of your life and how you are able to release any resistance to your emotional state. And this is about returning back to almost noticing how your emotions work for you and what they are trying to offer you, what the gift is of this emotional body within you. And most of us are in judgment, we're not in love with our emotions. And so if I feel shameful, I feel guilty, I feel worried, I feel insecure, I feel fearful, how do I work with those feelings and ask it what's its gift for me so that I can heal it? And in my spiritual journey, certainly when I read the words, I can't remember where I read them from, where healing requires feeling. Is you can analyze things to death. If you don't deal with the feelings of them, they just keep repeating themselves in your life. And so the continuum for this is on the side where we spiral down is we withdraw, we reject, we go numb, we just don't want to deal with things. In the space where we're in the sort of continuation with the stuckness place, the middle side of the continuum, or the middle part of the continuum, this is where we try and understand our feelings. Understand our feelings. It's a very funny statement, really, if you think about it. Feelings are psychological. So the mind wants some kind of logic behind it, but it isn't about the logic. It's about the experience. It's about the wound. It's about the memory. It's about the anticipation. It's about the anxiety. And the mind can actually do quite a lot more harm than good when it tries to understand. And so it asks this key question, why? And why doesn't take us to any closer to healing anything. And then we get the energy that takes us into spiraling up, and that is called releasing. And so once we've acknowledged something, once we've truly got to what this is about, what is the story that's going on, and we offer it some compassion and a space to voice itself, then we release it. It no longer holds us ransom. It no longer has the same charge that it did before. And releasing is different to letting go. Letting go is something that we very cruelly say to people, you should just let that go. Just let it go. I don't know why this is up again. I thought I'd let it go. It's quite a cruel way. You don't let anything go until it's dealt with. And once it's dealt with, it's gone. It's released. And so this is a pattern of, and it takes a lot of patience and compassion and kindness to work with this suit. The next suit, the 6th suit, is called Connect. It's about connecting to your intuition. This is about navigating life by the truth of you and really connecting to the wisdom of you and the inner knowing within you. And to trust that. The sacred geometry symbol is the Vesica Piscis. The Vesica Piscis is all about a portal. It's 2 overlapping circles. It's 2 circles that when they overlap, they form a portal. And that portal becomes a place of transformation. And so this is a place of integration. This is everything to do with the suits. It's about pulling things together and getting connected back to yourself. Most of the time, we're quite fragmented in our energy. We're quite disconnected. Our mind wants us to do this. Our heart wants us to do that. Our body wants to sleep, whatever it is. This is pulling it all together and trusting the part of us, that the essence of us, the glue of us, that does know what to do, that can navigate life by a place of truth and calmness, not by a place of freneticness and anxiety. And so the continuum for this suit is on the side where we spiral down is a struggle. So the struggle is where everything needs to be, there's a great statement that says, you do not need to struggle so much in life. But we make everything a struggle. It's difficult, and it should be different, and I don't want it this way, etc., etc. In the middle continuum, we've got attachments. So this is a very, very interesting energy. What are you attached to that gives you the ability to feel like you can do your life on your terms? This may be a dependency on a person. It may be a dependency on a job. It may be a dependency on something that's not good for you, like drugs or alcohol. But these are things that we've attached to as false sources of energy, false sources of data, false sources of information. And they can keep us quite repetitive. We may keep going back to the same book, for example, and we keep looking for answers there. And it's an attachment to outside of you to give you the information you need to make decisions about your life. And then we've got connecting on the space where we spiral up, and that's connecting to your truth. It's becoming the boss of you. It's becoming the source of knownness in you, that you know what you need to do in your life, and you can navigate it from an internal reference as opposed to an external reference. And so the last suit, the suit of expansion, is the choice is yours to make. The sacred geometry symbol here is the expansion symbol called the Fibonacci spiral. The Fibonacci spiral is a spiral that expands out by exactly the same amount continuously and in this ever-increasing spiral. And that really articulates how the soul wants to grow, how the energy wants to expand in life, as opposed to this step process of growth that the mind wants. There's this expansion of love, expansion of light, expansion of peace. And this is all about noticing, how do I expand or withdraw from my life? If we have a look at the continuum for this, the place where we spiral down is a stagnation. So stagnation is where I just don't do anything. I don't take action. This is the suits of action. So this might be, I've done everything. I've accepted it. I've processed it. I've felt it. I love it, but I'm not going to do anything. Okay, then just stay there. And then it almost just comes to a place of halting. The middle place is where I just keep doing the same things over and over. And I see this so much in my clients, is that we'll go through so much work for healing to happen. And then the unconsciousness kicks in, and I just keep doing the same thing every day. So I'm just on autopilot. I'm just repeating myself. I don't make any tweaks or changes. So it's different to the spiraling down, because there I won't do anything. Here, I just don't even know to do something different. I just keep repeating. I go into the meeting, I say the same thing. I come home, I behave the same way. So there's no integration to action. Whereas on the higher continuum, on the continuum of expansion, is we do expand, and that expansion is about, I choose to act with intention. If I know something I'm doing is not working, I choose to step into the vulnerability of doing something differently. And I take a small step every day to take action to shift my life. I don't just analyze it, I do something about it. So there you have it. Those are the 7 suits. So I hope that gives you a little bit more perspective on how you can work with these cards. There's a lot of depth to it. I run a program called The Art of Surrender, which is an 8-month coaching program where you work with all these energies and know how you do this in your own life. So you can look out for that. Otherwise, you can get a copy of the free ebook as well. But let the cards teach you. Just start paying attention to which suits they're in, and it'll take you further into your journey. Sending lots of love. Namaste.